Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La La Land, revealing a roadmap, a visionary roadmap to manifesting our dreams. Tori Hartman is in the house. Good morning, Tori. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
We're excited to have you.
Back in LA for a few days. It's kind of fun.
And she brought her Chakra Wisdom Tarot. Now, this is the first time I've seen Chakra and Tarot together. Tell us about that.
Well, I had a near-death experience. Do you have like 70 minutes? Okay. So, long time ago, I had a near-death experience. And then when I came back, I had angels telling me stories. So they wouldn't go away till I wrote these things down. And of course, I was writing the great American novel that never got written, and it made me mad because I was like, these are in the way. Yeah. And then I learned chakra through those stories became the Chakra Wisdom Oracle. Oh. And I ended up self-publishing because nobody would publish it. I sold 10,000 copies off my website in less than 2 years. I said, this is it, I'm going to London. Everybody's like, why London? Why not New York? I go, because that's where it has to happen. So I went to London, I got a publisher there. That deck has sold hundreds of thousands of copies in 9 languages. And it just, this came to me, I'm getting truth bumps as I tell you this. This came to me because I recognized that chakra is us. It's not something on a wall, it's not, and by the way, we are not following, just so everybody out there knows, we don't follow the old chakra system. It was actually created here in America in Esalen in the 70s through the self-actualization movement. So we actually, a lot of those guys dropping acid, you know, those days, they were like thinking about themselves, but they actually created that rainbow system, and it works. And I think the thing that we kind of disrespect new things as opposed to go, well, if it's not ancient, it's not real. Right. And I don't believe that, you know. I'm intuitive, but I still hand signal if I don't like how you're driving.
I love the hand signal.
You know, it's like, you know, like, I mean, we have to be human with our spirituality and with our intuitive side. Yeah. The purpose of this work ultimately is to have internal peace. And that is the work of all of it. You know, when people are so spiritual and they're screaming and unhappy, I go, I don't know. I don't know if that's really what you want, right?
Or they're so spiritual, it doesn't seem accessible. I don't feel like I can connect.
I'm glad you said that word because that is so true. It's like, how do I get a hold of this? It feels so far away from me. Yeah. And I think for me, it was like, I really wanted to be less woo and more you. Yeah. You know, I wanted it to be like, just as real people, we talk and we find out what's really going on. You know, just to share a little snippet, I have a YouTube channel, and some woman got on and said, you know, F, and you're this and you're that. And I wrote back and I said, you know what? Yours was the first post I read today, and I just found out my dog is dying. And it was really interesting for me because I wrote, and I wonder if someone you loved was dying, if you would want those to be the last words they heard.
Wow.
And I just put TH, you know, and she wrote back and said, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And she said, I'm really sorry. And my thing is, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean.
I love that. That's at least like the third tweetable you've shared. I have to
You're gonna be like this later, you know?
Yeah.
And I fell into true crime. In the YouTube world, I fell into true crime, and people are finding this, and it just has a whole new thing.
But I've read that there's something almost uncanny about the power of this deck. What makes it truly different?
I think what happens is that I call it diving under the wave, and I created this exercise after the tsunami really years ago. Gosh, I think it was in Thailand. Right?
It was in Thailand.
And I read a story years later that it was this couple was out in a boat, and they were scuba diving during the big tsunami. Oh, wow. When they came up, they had felt a little ripple underneath, and when they came up, there was like, the boat was gone, everything was gone. So they went, oh, okay, well, maybe he went in. Yeah. So they started swimming, and suddenly they're swimming past their hotel. They're swimming past objects, and they went, what happened? They had no trauma because they had no idea that it had happened.
Wow, and what a metaphor.
Right? So what I taught people, and one of the exercises I do is I imagine you're standing in a field, and you're just looking up, and you're just in a very peaceful field, and you see this tsunami coming toward you. What do you do when that level of energy is coming toward you? And then I said, when the moment is right, dive under the wave. And in that space, that's your reality. You know, that's your reality, because everything else that's going on isn't real. So one question I want to pose to everybody, what if this is actually the best time we're living in our lives? You know, people are so upset about so many things, and I thought, what if everything's bubbling up so that we can heal it? So what makes this accessible? Let's get to that. Because they're like, okay, but when are you going to pull a card? Like, what, you know, like.
I love this.
I sat down with him and I go, okay, your grandmother. Who's close to his grandmother? Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about your grandmother, just because I have his permission, by the way. I don't walk up to people while they're shopping for melons and go, by the way, your grandfather wants to talk to you. That's not how I roll. You know? I don't do that stuff. You know, it's like they're buying their melons. Leave them alone. So I sat down with you, and before we even went on, I said, you know, you're close with your grandmother.
Yeah.
She's an incredible woman. And she changed a lot of what could have been in her life so that you got to be who you are. And so, by the way, that's true for most of us. We forget our ancestors, you know, sacrificed so we could be here. And I think we spend a lot of time worrying about what our parents did when we really have to look at who raised our parents, because it skips a generation. That's right. So we really have to look at how what we're here to do is our greatest wounding becomes our purpose. So I heard you, and of course I'm cheating a little bit, guys. I heard you when I came in, and I heard you saying, you know, you were bullied. You were bullied a little as a child, or you had a tough time?
Yes, I was bullied mostly by myself. I bullied myself. I was mostly
worse.
Yeah, it was the worst kind, right?
Yeah,
the
it
one that
really
lives in your
is.
head all the
Yeah.
time. So yeah, it was me bullying myself mostly.
And people probably adored you, yes? Is that true? I don't know.
I would assume, but that wasn't my experience. But yeah, my mom and my dad, I think they did. Hope so.
Okay, well, you know, the thing about bullying is that when that happens to us, it's really about exercising that moment where we recognize that person doesn't know how to communicate. And so it's our job to teach them how to communicate. So going back to you, because it's all about you and you, it really is if you're putting yourself down, it's really about understanding that you just don't know how to talk to yourself. You don't know how to communicate with yourself. You don't know how to do that. This is about self-communication, right? So let's take a look, and we're going to look, everybody. We're going to take a look. And what I like to do, and just so everybody knows, I think cards are like a mirror of what's going on with us. They don't tell us anything outside. There's no spooky, you know, they're kind of like, they're just pieces of paper. But when we tap into what's really going on inside, we can pull a card. So I'm going to invite you to, do you want me to do it, or do you want to do it? I'm fine with either way. Pull a card, come on.
Okay.
So we're going to
your
talk
choice.
about the 7 chakras. So
All right.
before we look at your cards, hold your, it's all right, keep it all secret. And this isn't like Vegas. Before we look at the card, I want to just give everybody a very brief overview, and then I'll pull a card when we're finished for the audience so they kind of get a sense of what's going on energetically. So the 7 chakra work like this. The red is about your roots and where you came from. It's your DNA. It's beliefs. And by the way, beliefs are all fear-based. They're always fear-based. So when someone says, I want to change a belief, I'm like, why do you want to create another fear, right? So we want to have a knowing of something. So a knowing is when you dive under that wave and you know. Our roots are always the first chakra. It's where we've come from. It's our platform. Second chakra is our emotions. So that's an emotional state. Third chakra is all about thinking, planning, where we're going, fight or flight. Fourth chakra is our heart open or not. Now we step into the upper chakra. Fifth, sixth, and seventh. Blue is the throat, communication. Sixth is obviously psychic, intuitive, but it's also hidden family agreements. And seventh is universal consciousness. And it's also, people think they can create there. Janis Joplin, you know, I mean, I can name a ton of, you know, of singers and creators who died because they tried to live in the 7th chakra. Jimi Hendrix, that's like that God consciousness, but you can't live there. 7th chakra always has to come back to first, because what we're creating has to be in this world. It can't be out there. So creators really bring things down to the first chakra. Let's take a look at what you guys pulled.
All right.
All righty.
Cups.
Ooh, 9 of Cups. Let's see what's going on for you. Oh, I love the Sun. Okay, so both of you, and just so everybody knows, this is a major arcana card. I'm going to start with her.
Yes,
you know,
please.
Ladies first.
Thank you.
So the Sun, obviously this is a, as we look at this card, I want to just show all of you, this is what we call the major arcana. It means that it's destiny right now. It's a destiny card. And it's also the Fool's Journey. It's the only deck that was ever created. That's the woman's journey. It's one fool, and she meets all of her mentors, and we watch her go through her journey. This is what I call the mastery card. So this is, you talked about manifesting and magnetizing. I want to let you know that manifesting is really masculine. And so that's why a lot of women will try to manifest and they can't maintain it. We have to actually magnetize as women.
Oh, I love that. That is a very distinct difference and different
It is.
energy.
And you know the difference because you're female, and you know too. But it's different. It's different over here because it's like, you know when you're at the airport and they're going like this, right?
Yes.
It's like the plane can only come so far, and then they have to like, oh, we have to wait for the tow, right? So the tow is the magnetizing.
I can pull
Right.
in my destiny.
And that's how you maintain it.
Got it.
That's how women maintain it. We cannot maintain the masculine energy. We can only maintain the feminine.
It's very nice.
So when we look at this woman and we look at her, she's looking at the sun, and she's also she's summoning something. She's summoning the chariot. So I'm going to tell you what this means because she kind of wants to know anyway.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
What this tells me is that there is a very big opportunity on the horizon for you. And I want to say that you are creating it. I definitely want to tell you there's two things that are happening. One is that there is something that's outside of this venue, right? So it's creative. This is for you, and you've always wanted to create something. And I don't want to get too into it because I'm really good and I don't want to say too much yet.
Off camera, babe.
Okay, off camera, I'll tell you that part.
Okay.
But what I will tell you is when you look at this card and you look at the sun, whenever the sun is involved, it's God consciousness. So it's bringing, you are absolutely doing the right thing. You've already saved lives. That's what this is about. You came here as a purpose to help people. Now our wounding becomes our purpose. So when you talked about bullying, you know, in self-bullying, your purpose is to help others find their way.
Oh, love this.
Take a look
Love
at
this.
So the card here, 9 of Cups, this is beautiful because it is emotions. It's the wish card. It tells me you both are in a very interesting place because you definitely, this isn't the last stop on the train for both of you.
Love that.
So I'm just gonna say,
Love that.
and let me pull one final card for the
Yes,
audience,
one more
if I
for the
may.
audience.
8 of Cups, and what I love about this card is it's about learning to accept that you have created something to this point. Sometimes we're like, nothing's happened. And if you really look, it has. You have a very powerful foundation. And it's time for you to get that when we accept what's happened in our past, it's like acknowledging our past gives us a future. You can't have a future unless you accept the legacy you've been given, no matter what it is.
Love that.
Amen. Tori, please tell everyone where they can find and follow, work with you.
Okay, Chakra Wisdom cards available on Amazon, blah, blah, blah. You'll see all my, just put my name in your file. And then I have a
Tori
YouTube
Hartman.
channel. So come check me out because I talk true crime and spirituality.
Awesome.
Incredible. We are Good Morning La La Land, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. All of today's interviews are available as a podcast on iTunes, and the whole show is streaming on Apple TV and Roku via the EverTalk app.
That's right. Thanks to all our fantastic guests. Thank you guys for watching. DM us, send us a message. See you tomorrow.
It's going to be a good morning, La La Land.